You don't get what you deserve, you get what you expect. Have you ever heard that phrase before? It's, I think, a phrase based off of another phrase that you get what you deserve. Kind of, I don't know exactly where it comes from, but when I first heard it, it spoke to me a lot. It's really been a driving factor in the way I think about things, the way I go about life. And I want to talk about that today because I think it's really, really interesting in the context of something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. And something I've been praying about a lot lately is essentially about like that faith drives direction and faith drives action and action drives direction. And what I mean by that is essentially, if you don't believe something can happen, you're not going to take the actions to try to make that happen, which means the direction that you're going is not the direction that you would want to see going. This is coming out of a conversation that I had recently with somebody on Zoom, and it really kind of just refreshed my perspective. You know, I have some really big dreams in my life and really big goals, but I think that sometimes we can kind of get complacent where we are and not necessarily lose sight of the goal, but maybe just not be actively pursuing it as strongly as we had in the past. I realized that had happened with me, and it excited me because I'm like, you know what? I want to reignite that passion, reignite that drive, reignite that desire and the faith that these things can happen. It came from a conversation. The guy that I was speaking to is doing really, really well on Spotify. Not insanely well. He's not like Ed Sheeran. You know, it's not like he's like wildly famous. In fact, if you asked 100 people, I don't know if they'd even know who he was. But he was still doing significantly better than I am and at an attainable level. The guy had 500,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I was speaking to somebody else that had 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify. That's a lot of monthly listeners. It's still, you know, a stepping stone to where I want to go in my career, but I'm still not even at that stepping stone. And it really was a good reminder for me of how important it is to believe that these things can happen for me too. If it can happen for this guy or that person or that girl or this, like, it can happen to me too. Well, the reason I think that it's important to believe and have that faith is your actions then reflect your faith. So if I believe that that's possible, I will take actions to make that possible, to help it. It's not necessarily a claim it and believe it or speak it and make it happen kind of thing, like this manifesting, but I do believe, again, to repeat the same phrase, that your faith drives your actions and your actions drive your direction, destiny, outcome, whatever you want to call it, journey. But if I believe that, for example, I'm able to, you know, attain a certain level of listeners on Spotify, which then will, you know, get my music out there more, well, I'll take actions to do that. Well, what would I do? I'd make more music. I'd be more passionate about the music that I'm making. I would take steps to promote the music. Whereas if I don't believe it's possible, I'm not going to necessarily take those steps. So I think it's really, really interesting. I want to encourage you today, if you don't have the faith for something, one, you know, maybe it's time to believe that you can do it. And two, if you have had the faith for something at some point and you kind of just like give yourself like an inventory check and see, hey, am I still as passionate about this, or do I need to like kind of reignite that passion and get excited all over again and believe that these things are possible? Again, you might not have stopped believing, but you might not just essentially, your actions may not be reflecting that. So all you have to do is, it's like, there's no shame in it. Like, you know, like, I could easily be like, oh man, what was I doing? I was wasting time. No, it's like, hey, I've been making progress. I've been trying to, you know, do one thing at a time, but maybe I shift a little here or do a little bit more of this or do a little of that and act and believe in a way that these things are possible. So I hope that encourages you. I think that it's something I've been really thinking and praying about, like literally saying like, increase my faith for these things and show me what the right thing to do is, and the next right thing to do is like, how do I let my actions reflect what I believe, stuff like that, you know, just getting excited and passionate about what's to come. So I wish you the best of luck. I'd love to know what you're excited or passionate about and believing for. Leave a comment down below.